Hey, it's party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show. We're here in the mothership, which is Studio 22. The Puppet Master Mark driving us into the weekend at the helm. Mark, do you have big plans? Do you miss going to the hockey games?
Yeah, I do miss it, and it's very different now. I've been watching some of it, of the playoffs, and just not having fans there just really changes everything. I feel like it's
so. Last night, I was watching hockey. I was having dinner. I was sitting at a bar, in a sports bar. I was sitting there, I was having dinner, and I was watching hockey, basketball, and baseball all at the same time. And I'm watching the virtual fans in the deal, right? That's just weird to me.
Yeah, hockey's, I think, the only big sport right now that's not doing that, and I actually kind of like it because, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Well, the thing with basketball is it's creepy. You're watching all these real creepy-looking people. And I'm like, why can't you just put images of normal people up there? I know that they have the motion and the movement, and that sort of helps them. But they're not even real-looking people. They're proportionally sized off and stuff. It's just some New World Order stuff that's going on,
some weird
guys.
Stuff.
I don't like it. Candace, what'd you think about our episode with Alex Jones?
I really liked it. I was really excited for that, and who knows what's next.
I think we kind of exposed the humanity of Alex Jones.
It was a very surprising interview.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, because people were like, did you get him to go crazy? Did you get him to go nuts? I was like, no, I really wasn't after that.
He was pretty down to earth, which 2020 is full of surprises.
And I texted you the other night, I want to do another Epstein special. Because there was something that he triggered in my thinking that just kind of took me down the rabbit hole while I was thinking about some things last night. And I want to go back and revisit, because I've always said there's a connection between this coronavirus stuff and Jeffrey Epstein. And he said something that triggered in me, and I was like, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. So I think there's another expose. Jeffrey Epstein, the gift that keeps on giving.
The research has already begun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Sarah Gonzalez is over in the pub. She's hanging out with our buddy Reagan Reed, and welcome to the show, Reagan. Thanks for hanging out with us. I know that you're just excited to be over there talking. And Sarah, that is a lovely shirt you're wearing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's kind of my favorite shirt right now.
Now, is that the guy that had the standoff with SWAT?
I believe so. He looks nothing like him, though, if you look up his mugshot. It's weird. It's really weird.
Let me tell you, if I'd have had the standoff with SWAT, I fought the law, and the law won. I didn't shoot the sheriff. That's right. Maybe I did shoot the sheriff, but it wasn't the deputy. I'll put it that way. And our buddy Christian Collins hanging out over here in the hot seat. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in. Texas Youth Summit. We're going to have some fun today, whether you want to or not. Christian.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for having me on, and really appreciate all you do around the state.
Thank you, buddy. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about what you got coming up and some of the things that you've done. And I like to bring guys like you on, and you and I have gotten to know each other recently. Had a fantastic lunch. We'll talk about that. But there's so many unsung people out there who maybe don't get the recognition that I think they should, who are behind the scenes, who make conservatism happen in the state of Texas. You're one of those guys. And I think that you're also one of those guys who can help people get involved, who want to get involved, that just don't know how.
Yeah.
So you got some big things coming up. We're going to talk about all of it as we get into this episode. So before we go to break and before we get down into the deep stuff, I want to remind everybody, TAC Pack is the premier monthly subscription box for military, tactical, and prepper and Second Amendment enthusiasts. For only $49.95 a month, you're going to get at least $100 worth of gear, sometimes up to $150 or $200 worth of stuff from different companies like 511, Sons of Liberty, Gunworks, Mission First, Tactical, Arma Spec, and a whole lot more. They're going to send out AR-15 parts and accessories, EDC tools, knives, and gear to keep you prepared for when the poo hits the fan, and it's smearing all over the wall right now. Hey, this September pack is full of AR gear and a self-defense piece from CKRT that could really come in handy during these wild, crazy times. The past 3 months have been sold out early, so get signed up for the September pack. You don't want to have to wait all the way till October to get your first pack. Get it right now. Do it ASAP. Use the promo code CHAD at checkout to receive a free extra bag of tactical goodies shipped out with your first pack. So don't wait. These things are flying off the shelves. Go to tacpack.com. That's TACpack.com. Sign up and use offer code Chad. We will be right back. Christian, you wrote a good book, man.
Oh, thanks so much for plugging that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
I finished is Second Wind, right?
Yes.
And I read I'm horrible with book titles, right? I read the books and my wife will say, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, if it's digital, like I can't remember the title because it won't be up at the top, and I can't just close the deal if I'm reading it on an iPad. But I read yours, actual paper book I read. So good stuff on that deal,
Thank you
man.
so much. Yeah, Second Wind is a metaphor for a runner's high. And I've done some long distance running, and I know that when you get a breaking point where you just get really tired, you want to keep going. So this is a faith-based book, and it's not just for runners. It's for anybody that needs a second chance. And sometimes we have things in life that cause us to lose faith, and maybe through no fault of our own sometimes. And so
I've been right there. And that's why I think the book appealed to me so much, because people who know my story know that there's been times in my life where I kind of crawled into that proverbial cave and just felt like dying.
Yeah.
Kind of like King David did, where he's like, I ain't got no friends.
Yeah.
I ain't got nobody that loves me. So I'm just going to crawl in here and die.
Right.
And you find out that God kind of has a bigger plan for you, and he snatches you out of there and spanks you on the butt a little bit.
Yeah.
And sets you up.
Well, and God's obviously used you. I mean, look what he's doing through you. So, and I can say that in my life that there's been setbacks that were unfortunate, but when you keep going, you can run stronger than you've ever run before. And so this is a 365-day devotional, just little stories, philosophies. I break it down in bite size, a little bit every day, and just give people a little shot in the arm to keep going.
Yeah, see, I'm one of those guys like Oswald Chambers' Utmost for his Highest. I just read it all. Instead of doing one a day, I just kept reading it.
Yeah.
Devotional books and stuff like that you're supposed to do every day, or I'm horrible on that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get a full year of inspiration right now. So that's sort of the way I approached your book as well. I love it, though, man. I was just talking to somebody last night, and I think I'm going to give them a copy of your book because I'm not going to give them that copy because you signed that one for me. But they were just talking about, they said, I'm almost 40 and I know my potential. I know I've got it, but I just don't have anything to give. I don't feel like my life is amounting to anything. Yeah. Right. And it's one of those things they just kind of really felt hopeless and helpless on that deal. I'm like, nah, you got,
there's a lot of people that are at that place, but maybe sometimes God isn't going to change our circumstances necessarily, but what he's going to do is to give us new strength and to change our paradigm, open up the eyes of our heart to be able to see things in a different way. Yeah. And when he can do that through our lives, then we can approach our situations, our circumstances with new energy, and we're excited about what we're doing, and we can really start to make a difference. There's always some way that we can help people, serve others, and make a difference and make the world a better place. And that's what I hope to inspire people to do.
Yeah, and you're doing it yourself. So Texas Youth Summit, you got a huge event that's coming up. You've done a lot of different things. You've worked on several different campaigns. Yeah. Big name campaigns for the state of Texas and on the national level. Who's some of the folks that you've worked with?
Sure. Thanks for asking. I've worked with Governor Greg Abbott, started out as a field director right out of grad school, then worked for Senator Cruz's presidential campaign and traveled the country with Rafael Cruz, Ted Cruz's father, and he's a mentor of mine, and got to spend hundreds of hours with him in the car and on plane rides. And man, that man can run. He was 77 at the time, just had so much energy, and I loved working with him. Afterward, I went to work as Congressman Kevin Brady's campaign manager, and now currently still advise him, and also get to advise Congressman Dan Crenshaw there in CD2 there in Houston. So great man, and I love getting to just do what I can to, in a small part, make a difference in those arenas.
And you know what? As a young person, as a young man, and I don't say that condescendingly, I say that admiringly, because you jumped right into it, like you said, as with the gubernatorial campaign, working with Greg Abbott. I mean, right out of grad school, and you haven't slowed down or looked back. And as such, you've had a platform that you've built to influence this next generation, this young generation that's coming along. Tell me about that. And I want to know, do you feel hopeful about the next generation? Because I think they catch a lot of garbage. I think they catch a lot of crap.
Yeah, and I really enjoy getting to work with the youth. And one thing I would always tell them is that we can learn a lot by serving under someone else's vision, you know? And I got to serve Rafael Cruz. I've got to serve Kevin Brady. And I've done everything I can to just serve people with honor and be loyal and do what I can to live that out. Yeah. And then when you are faithful with little, you get to be doing a lot more things oftentimes. And in my case, I started Texas Youth Summit. I've been a college teacher, teaching at a local community college, and for 6 years now. That's one of the things I've done to supplement my income. It's so much fun, and I love working with young people. I started a college ministry, and for a while I really wondered if I was wanting to be a pastor because my dad was a pastor. Recently watched the movie Amazing Grace, William Wilberforce, and recognized that we can do ministry wherever we go. We don't have to just do ministry in, vocational type of setting. We can do ministry in politics. And it's not the same way. It's not, you're not talking in religious platitudes all the time, but you're doing what you can to be salt and light, to make a difference. And so working with youth is so much fun for me because they teach me so much. They're in a stage where they're the most impressionable in their entire lives, and they really need to learn the right thing so that they can go in the right direction. So I've gotten to speak at high schools and different colleges, universities, and church groups and homeschool groups. And what I've learned is that they want to make a difference. They want to get involved in the political process. And so I started Texas Youth Summit to give them a platform and an opportunity to interact with people like yourself. You're going to be speaking there September 19th. We got Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and Allie Beth Stuckey. She's with the Blaze, of course, and Deplorable Choir, our friend CJ, Congressman Dan Crenshaw is going to be there. So it can really make a difference for these young people to interact with some of these very talented, special people that can change the trajectory of their lives. Yeah. And they impart something on them. It's not just them getting to take a picture with them, but maybe just a 2-minute, 1-minute conversation with one of these special people can really change their lives. And that's what I hope to do. This is a hub, and we want to connect them with great groups where they can go out and join and make a difference and be political activists. I want to encourage them that they can get involved by even running for office. I mean, Abraham Lincoln was 22 years old when he first ran for office. Yeah. A lot of the framers of the Constitution, James Madison and others, they were very young, and many of the signers were under the age of 35. So my message to young people is that, look, you can make a difference. You can really make a difference, and don't doubt yourself. Yeah.
See, now, if Party Foul Steve were here, Sarah, this would be the point in the show where he would feel like an underachiever. Yes. Because he's turning 50 in a week, and he knows that he's never done really anything in his life.
I'm sorry that I can't fill his role more honorably.
No, you've thankfully accomplished.
He's on the Chad Prather Show. That's a pretty big deal.
He's like, well, I am in 21 million homes every night. I mean, people do subscribe to The Blaze for me and Glenn Beck.
Yeah,
that's what he would say.
That's a pretty big deal. So,
dude, I don't think that there's, my thing, you and I, just to give the listeners and the viewers a backstory. So you and I got to know each other. CJ Engelstad connected us. Yeah. We met down in, was it Conroe?
Conroe, Texas.
Down in Conroe, Texas at Joe's Italian restaurant. Fantastic.
Joe Halidi is the owner.
Dude,
man.
Salt of the earth.
Yeah.
Great story, right?
Oh, yeah.
Great business guy. A guy who has supported first responders, just been there for people. I mean, taking care of people through this pandemic stuff. And we were sitting there, and what they brought out, like a salad. We were like, okay, we're going to have a salad.
Yeah.
And then they brought out appetizers. And we're like, okay, well, we're going to have an appetizer. Then he brings out this tray like this, like literally 36 inches around with every food imaginable. And then I don't even remember the order of all of this stuff that was coming out. And then there's pasta dishes, and then there's desserts. And we're over there, wine, and I mean, we're just hanging out and engorging ourselves on this incredible food, talking about the future and talking about Texas politics and talking about this generation. And I've always said, my heart has always been the nations and the generations. Yeah. Right. And I think you and I found some common ground in that because I spent a lot of my life in foreign countries, in third world countries, working with young people there. I've spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time working with young adults as well as teenagers. And my thing has always been, we're one generation away from some really negative stuff if we don't continue to impact this generation, right? I think it was Ronald Reagan who said, conservatism is a generation away from extinction.
Yeah.
And so is Christianity. So is, you list off the thing that matters to you. You're a generation away from extinction.
We have to fight to preserve liberty because it's not passed down in the bloodline. We have to fight for it because it's only one generation away from extinction, is what Ronald Reagan said.
That's right.
So true.
And you see these days that we have so many people, particularly in the academic world, starting to embrace these ideas of socialism.
Yeah.
Do you see that in some of this coronavirus rhetoric that's around, as a community, we can do this together and all that? Like, I just hear socialism in a lot of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, together we can conquer all of this stuff. It's really starting to steal our individuality. Do you think the young generation is kind of buying into that in some ways, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, good question. I think young people want to resist coercion. They do not like coercion. So there are lots of young people that I think are very skeptical of any government entity that would want to shut down churches or shut down restaurants and bars. And they're very skeptical, and rightfully so. And there are some people that are just scared and they don't know what's going on, and they're sincere in being scared because this is unprecedented. We're going through a pandemic of unlike any other that we've ever seen in our generation. Mm-hmm. So there's never been a shutdown. Maybe there have been worse situations that have gone on. I don't know if the swine flu was considered worse than this or not, but there were never any shutdowns. So I think a lot of people are very scared, but there's also a lot of them that, like I was saying, that are very skeptical. Mm-hmm. And so I think we need to be able to connect with them on the issues. And if you look at what's going on in this country right now with the burning down of cities, the tearing down of statues, the attacking the police officers, the destroying of the businesses. Many of these people that are doing that are youth. Yeah. And they're very misguided people. And they've been taught very leftist ideology from entities like the New York Times and a lot of these education institutions. And I differentiate between a liberal and a leftist. I think those are two different things because there are a lot of good liberal people, and we may disagree. I'm a conservative, you're a conservative, about how to make the country better.
Right.
But these leftists hate America, and they think America is a mistake, and that we have to cut America down to size. It can't be the superpower in the world, and it's imperialistic, and all of the founding fathers, they say, were slave owners, so therefore everything that they did was terrible.
Yeah.
And I think that's really problematic because if they're attacking the founding fathers so much, it's only a matter of time until they start to attack the document, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, all of the documents that these founding fathers forged. Yeah. And so there's a lot at stake. Young people are listening to Bernie Sanders and AOC and Iman Omar, and these are the vessels for socialism. And of course, socialism is the vehicle for communism. And so these young messengers are making socialism very appealing to so many people. Yeah. And if the government's shut down and if the businesses are shut down and therefore they can't work and they're getting paid more on unemployment than they are doing what they have to do. I worked 2 jobs through high school, college, and grad school. And if they're making more on unemployment than they are doing what you got to do. I worked at H-E-B, checking groceries. I mean, there's all different kinds of things that I did. If you're making more on unemployment doing something like that, then of course you want to get your check from the government. And that's very appealing for a lot of people. And there's a lot of people that don't want to go back to work. Yeah.
It's a scary thing, dude. It's scary. I got some questions I might ask you. But let's take a quick break. Hey, listen, I know there's some folks out there who are discovering this nightmare, which is known as home title theft. People don't even know that they're a victim of home title fraud, which is a devastating crime. It can cost you your home, and it's not covered by your insurance, not by common identity theft services. The only folks you can trust out there to protect your home's title, yes, your home's title, is Home Title Lock, because you have cyber thieves that are online. They discover the titles to our homes, which are kept online. They forge your name on the deed stating you sold your home to them, and then they refile as the new owner. And in certain people's cases, they don't know they're a victim until the eviction notice shows up. Home Title Lock is going to put a virtual barrier around your home's title. The important thing is the instant they detect tampering, they're going to mobilize to shut everything down. So first things first, I want you to go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim. And you may not know it. Then use code CHAD for 30 free days of protection. Sign up today. That's code CHAD at HometitleLock.com. We'll be right back. Sarah.
Yes, sir.
You're bringing a new child into the world. You have a young child in the world. When you look at the climate and the landscape, because you deal with the news every day, and some of it's humorous, some of it is, well, I say humorous, it's laughable.
Right.
Some of it is just downright scary, as Christian was saying. What's your take as a mom of a what's soon to be 2 young boys?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's interesting because I listen to a Christian talk and it gives me hope for the younger generation, because otherwise, aside from that, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to live in this world in 2020. When we decided to embark on a journey of having another child, this was like pre-coronavirus, pre-everything crazy going down. Mm-hmm. And now we look back in hindsight and we're like, would we have made the same decision? I mean, obviously this child will be loved and obviously he was wanted. But you look in hindsight and you're like, this probably wasn't a great time to bring new life into the world. There are so many uncertainties. There are people burning down buildings. There are people rioting. Our rights are under attack left and right. And it's like, yeah, it probably wasn't the best time in hindsight. Knowing what we know now, right, and seeing how even the younger generation is coming out like sheep, really. I mean, they're like sheep listening to what's being fed to them and following through on it without giving any regard for any other actual information. And so it's very terrifying. It's extremely terrifying. It's something that scares me all the time, every day, that I've actually had a hard time I've been struggling with, is just, what am I going to do with 2 boys if things don't change? Yeah. What am I going to do?
Well, that's one of the reasons why, like, when I'm around your son, we'll fist bump it, we'll hug, and we talk, and I
loves him some Chad.
I like to poke fun with him a little bit and let him poke fun back, and we have a good time, right?
Yes.
Because I like for boys to be boys.
Yes.
I like for boys to play in the mud, turn a stick into a gun. Hand them a Barbie doll, they're going to bend it at the waist, turn it into a gun. That's just what boys do, right? That's not all boys, but you know what I'm saying. I'm speaking in stereotypes here, and it's a broad generalization. And one of the things that I appreciate about our founding fathers, as you alluded to, why were Benjamin Franklin, why were George Washington, why was Alexander Hamilton, why were James Madison, why were all these men, why were they so smart, and so many of them at such a young age so accomplished? And the fact of the matter is, they hung around with a lot of adults. They spent time being mentored by a lot of adults. You talked about traveling around the country with Rafael Cruz. Rafael Cruz impacts me every time I'm around him, right? Yeah. I know the man. I don't know the man. I've been with him. We've done a few events together. I've heard Rafael, I've heard Pastor Cruz pray over a meal and bring tears to my eyes just praying over a meal. And I'm like, this guy who's been through persecution in Cuba, has seen communism and socialism up close, felt the direct pain from it. And here's a guy who's broken, and then you see a leader like Ted Cruz, and you know what, quote, stock he comes out of. And Ted Cruz is one of the smartest guys in America, whether people realize it or not. One of the smartest people in America. And I see that trend of here's who had a father like that, who mentored him and spent time with him, and just how that. And so that's why I have hope for the next generation, to the degree that we can spend time with our young men, our young women, and treat them like they're real people, like shouldn't be talked down to, condescended to. You got something you're going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, I completely agree with you, but I think we also have to make sure, because I think a large part of it too is that we're not teaching them history anymore, and they have no perspective and no context as to what's going on right now. So, someone doesn't get something for free and they think that it equals oppression because they have no idea what oppression really is, where we came from, the history of the founding of this country, or even the history of what's happened in other countries. And so I think that teaching kids history and teaching them where they came from is a really, really big, huge part of making sure that they understand how fortunate they are to live in this country and don't take it for granted, and don't listen to someone telling them you should go riot in the streets because, someone told you that you're oppressed. I mean, I think that it's something that's really we are losing sight of very rapidly. And, it's my hope that people like Christian here can make sure that the young people don't lose sight of that entirely, because it's so important.
And it's why I'm thankful every day for guys like Christian, because let me tell you, to do events like you do with the Texas Youth Summit, you bring in a Dan Crenshaw, you bring in these various Charlie Kirk, you bring in Allie Stuckey, one of the smartest young women that's out there. You bring in Candace Owen, of course, one of the smartest young women that's out there, and you do stuff like, and then you tag CJ and me on there, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all thinking? We're fun, but yeah. But you do that, and
you're one of the main speakers.
I know.
No pressure, Chad.
I'm so reading the Declaration of Independence.
So give it your best shot. If you got one message to change those kids' lives, give it your best shot.
I always said, every time I've ever had an opportunity to speak, particularly to the next generation, and there's been a lot of opportunities over the years, I have a phrase. I say, tomorrow I die. So in other words, I have one chance, because tomorrow I may die physically, but these kids may never see me ever again. And there's a good chance they won't. So tomorrow I die. I have one chance before I die to make an impact on that. And I think that's the mindset that says, that's how important the message has to be.
Yeah.
You don't frivolously waste that opportunity to go in there and be able to do that. So I want to say publicly, thank you for having me at the event. I'm looking forward to it. It's next month, September 18th and 19th. And where are you going to hold it at? Where's the event going to be?
We were concerned with all of the shutdowns that maybe there would be some shutdown if we picked a hotel. So we have a pastor by the name of Pastor Steve Riggle, who's graciously allowed us to use his church, Grace Woodlands. And so we're having it there. And by no means is he going to shut down. And
Good.
We have conservative leadership, so we picked there. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. As long as there's air conditioning.
Yeah.
That's really smart.
Yeah, as long as there's air conditioning.
Yeah.
I've gotten weak in my old age, man. Gotten weak. You look at these things. I was gonna put you on the spot. See, I'm always saying to Christian, or when we've talked, I'm like, okay, so when are you running for office, right? Because I know what you've talked about. Should you have pastored? Should you have gone into vocational ministry in that regard? And do you have those political aspirations that are out there for running for office?
I definitely do, and I've made it no secret that I've always had it in my heart to one day run for office, but it has to be the right timing, because timing is everything. There's so many variables that go into making a winning campaign, and I think name ID is definitely important. You need to have financing, money, of course, and you have to have a certain measure of charisma. You have to be able to capture the right message. You have to be able to understand the circumstances and situations around you and ascertain and discern and understand how to best capitalize on the situations to move forward. And we look at the 2016 race, and Donald Trump really captured a lot of the anger that people felt that had balled up for 7 or 8 years under Barack Obama. And conservatives were fed up, and we couldn't take it anymore. And so we wanted to get back to what our country really was supposed to be. And he captured a message, this idea of make America great again, because we were on managed decline for a long time, and Republicans and Democrats alike they were the establishment. They were letting our country sink into abyss.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump really sought to economically, militarily, in every way make us the world superpower again, to be strong, to be great again. And he captured a message. And so in every campaign, you have to have a message that really resonates with the people. And I think getting to serve under a lot of great men, I've understood that full well, and it takes relationships.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is you got to have the right relationships, and you got to be able to make relationships with a lot of interesting, diverse people to make broad coalitions and understand those coalitions full and well to be successful.
Yeah. Well, TexasYouthSummit.com is where people can find more information. Can I get your book on that website as well?
SecondWindBook.com.
SecondWindBook.com.
Thank you so much for that plug. Yeah.
100%, man. So great stuff. I highly encourage people to grab it. Use it. It's a tool. And the beauty of books like that is you use it year after year after year. It's a great book. So, it's I'm excited about what you're doing and excited about what you've already done. I went and sat down with Christian because I wanted your input. I wanted your wisdom. I said, hey, look, I'm giving some consideration to running for governor of the state. I know that some of the things you've done. Advise me. And that was one of the things, man. You gave me some solid stuff, and you still do.
Yeah.
Still do.
And I'm interested to know, what would you do differently if you were governor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody it's like Muhammad Ali said, everybody has a plan until they get hit, right? And one of the things is, and we've discussed this, is I don't want to be that guy who's putting his finger up in the wind and saying, okay, which way is it blowing?
Right.
And listening to the cronies that are in there that are in your ear telling you what you want to hear.
Right.
And we can talk a little bit more about that. Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back.
Yeah.
No, I think that when it comes to this coronavirus thing, and let me say this, I've always been a big fan of Greg Abbott. I've always been a big fan of Greg Abbott. I appreciated Greg Abbott, voted for Greg Abbott a couple of times, in fact. Supported Greg Abbott. I can remember when Greg Abbott, a season or so ago, threw out the first pitch at the Rangers game, and I was like, you know what? That's my governor. I like that guy a lot. And for me, I just felt like through all of this coronavirus stuff, a lot of stuff that was going on, I said, I don't feel like we're giving people enough liberty to make their own decisions and make their own, and be responsible. I think what I wish that any leader would come out and do is say, you know what, you're an adult. I expect you to be responsible. What we're facing is real. What we're facing is infectious and contagious. It's dangerous to a lot of people. The numbers are what they are. I want to encourage you to take responsibility to do what needs to be done to take care of you, take care of your family, take care of the folks around you. I think as a community, as Texans, I think people would have stood up and they would have taken it a lot better rather than saying, okay, we're going to shut your businesses down. We're going to shut we're going to shut the bars. We're going to shut the restaurants, the live music venues. We're going to kill an economy. We're going to hurt this and hurt that, and people are going to lose a lot of things. And we're going to drive numbers up like depression. We're going to drive suicides up and domestic abuse and things like that. Those are the kind of things that I feel like the end result are when you look at people and you almost treat them like they're children that can't make their own decisions. Now, that being said, I also recognize we're people and we do dumb things. We do dumb things, but I get real antsy when I start hearing words like mandate and requirements, and I got to do this and I got to do that, and it's just so weird to me, man. When I'm walking down the street, downtown Fort Worth, Cowtown, and I see these signs that are pasted on the sidewalk that say, social distance and together we can, and these people are walking around with their, it's these cartoon people with masks on and stuff, and do not enter here without a mask. I'm like, wow.
It's the Twilight Zone.
It's insane, dude. And we've had doctors on here. We've had virologists on here. We've had folks on here, and it's the same conclusion. Real, infectious, mortality rate's not what they predicted it was going to be. And I think if we could have looked at it and said, this is the state we live in. We dictate. I say it all the time. I'm like, people keep saying, well, y'all need to be more like South Dakota. Well, one, our population's a lot greater than South Dakota. That's one. Two, we're Texas. We should be the standard bearer. We should be the one, because you don't have South Dakota toast. You don't have South Dakota flag bathing suits, right? We don't have South Dakota waffle irons. We have Texas waffle irons, by God. Texas is the center of the universe as far as any people come to America. They want to go to Texas, right? So I think that we could have communicated that a little bit better. I still want to believe in Greg Abbott. Weird things have been communicated that just don't make sense to me. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of rumors that are going around out there. You and I have talked about that. I don't believe them. Yeah, I don't believe him. I still choose to believe the good in people. I don't think that Greg Abbott woke up one morning and said, I think I'm going to be a communist today. That's nonsense. Right? Yeah, that's just. Is
there anything that he could do to redeem himself with you?
I think that there are plenty of things that he could do. I think communication is key. I think coming out and being the relational governor that I feel like he has been in the past. I don't need to hear it said through Elon Musk. I don't need to hear it said through some of these Californians that are bringing their businesses in here. That's fine. There's just some better ways of communicating that I think he could. I don't think he can right now, because I think the die has been cast and he's not going to turn around on what he said at this point.
What do you think is going to happen after November 3rd? After the election with this whole pandemic? I mean, what is your prediction?
Well, if Joe Biden gets elected, I think this thing mysteriously disappears.
COVID's cured.
I think it mysteriously goes away in a big, big way.
Would you ever take a vaccine that...
No, they're going to have to run that through a whole lot of bodies before I see it, but I don't think I would. I just don't think I would, because first of all, I've taken like a flu vaccine before in the past. I'm married to a nurse practitioner. Of course, I get the pressure to do all of those things, right? But even that, I'm not sitting around going, let's go find some chemicals to pump in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, Bill Gates is fronting this, and I mean, he couldn't cure the viruses on our
his
computers.
Well, and I encourage people, if you missed the episode we did with Alex Jones, go back and watch that. There's some pretty interesting takes on that about how not only this thing or these viruses were created years ago and the different strains of them and what they were capable of doing and why, but also the vaccines that were created years ago. That's just a matter of saying, okay, we got to match this up with this and go from there. So it's pretty interesting. And then you hear people like Bill Gates and a lot of these billionaires who have had summits talking about population control. That gets a little bit...
It's a little bit scary to see him leading this charge. All over the news for it.
Yeah, it is. And I'm one of those guys, Sarah, I want to believe the best in people. I do. But man, oh man, the further you go down in the rabbit hole, you're like, It
is. And then you get called a conspiracy theorist, but you're like, I'm just looking at all of the facts and putting them into context and putting them together. I don't know what else to do. What else would you like for me to do?
And Christian, here's something I said to somebody last night. I said, if I was a billionaire, you were a billionaire, you'd probably own your own island, right? You'd have your own private island. I mean, that's what you do.
I would like to
just not an Epstein Island, right?
Yeah, just to say, my island. If you were a billionaire, and most of these guys do.
Yeah.
So if you were with a group of billionaires, what if you just said, how about let's just own the earth and call it our island, all right? And let's maybe bring the population down to manageable 3 billion. 3-4 billion. Let's do that. And it's our island, so to speak. So if you have that mindset of, I'm going to own my piece of the planet, well, hell, why don't you just own the planet? And so that's what scares me. Yeah. Because I know that mindset already exists. And if you can get enough of them together, then why not? Why don't they just own it all?
It's also people who think that we are doing all this damage by having children and contributing to climate change, and we're going to all kill ourselves because there's too much of us. So it would stand to reason that they would want to reduce it for those reasons as well, right?
Right.
Reduce the population.
And
we're saving people.
I've argued against overpopulation since the early 90s. When I was at the University of Georgia, I used to write some op-ed pieces on that. Because, again, the issue is not a population, it's a religion problem. You go to India, the reason there's overpopulation and people are starving is because they worship the rats that eat the grain that are on the trains, and they don't have the food. So you understand? Because the rat might be Aunt Shirley. And so you can't, it's a population problem because it's a religion problem. There's a starvation problem because it's a religion problem. There's plenty of space on this planet for the 7.5 billion people that are here. And many, many more. So that being said, that's a whole other issue we can get into. How about you? You lining up for the vaccine?
I'm not.
I kind of figured you weren't.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah.
So I'm a little concerned with what's going on. But, I hope that there is a good vaccine produced by good people.
Yeah.
I just am a little skeptical of certain people, and I will not accept vaccines.
Yeah.
From certain people. Is that the best way to answer that?
I don't know.
I think it should be.
I mean, Bill Gates, huh?
Or perhaps vaccines that have been created and gone through everything in like 6 months.
We want to see
studies.
the results of this first, and naturally there's some herd immunity going on anyway.
There is.
Yeah.
There is. We're not seeing the same thing here in Texas, for instance, that people were seeing in Italy and even in China at some point in time. Hey, y'all hang tight. We'll be right back. Man, oh man. Christian, thanks for coming on here, man. TexasYouthSummit.com. What's the best way for people to get involved with what you've got going on?
Sure. We have a donor reception, and if people want to be a part, meet the speakers and hear from them and mingle with them. So people that are older can be a part of that. But this event is free, offered free. The summit itself, the education part, the rally, so forth. It's free to youth, anybody that's high school or college age. So it'll be an incredible event. Yeah. And again, Chad, we're so excited to have you a part. And
looking forward to it.
Thank you for lending your voice.
Thank you. I can't wait, dude. I think I know where I'm going with it. And when I get to that point, I know I can just kind of hone where my mind is. I get excited.
Yeah.
I get excited. So
can I just say really quickly, I appreciate you allowing someone so old to be a part of your youth summit. That's really kind of you guys.
He's a part of Turning Point, and he's a part of so many different organizations. He's impacting and mentoring
I am
youth.
virtually cool. Virtually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels weird to get old. It does. I just go to sleep on the toilet at night and visit the bed 5 or 6 times. I know. I feel pretty good. I feel all right.
You might just be pregnant.
Things are falling apart. Yeah. Well, no. I encourage people, come join us. Come join us for that thing. Anytime you get an opportunity to kind of sit under the tutelage of a Dan Crenshaw or a Charlie Kirk or Candace or Allie, I mean, all those folks, it's a blessing. You're going to enjoy it. It's free, so get your young people involved, get them there, travel in, get a group together. If it's the church, if it's a organization, if it's young Republicans there at the colleges or whatever, come on, load them up, bring them on, get them on the bus and bring them down there. We're going to have fun. We're going to hang with you, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on, dude.
Thanks for coming. And one thing I love about your show is you can make anybody interesting just because you got such a way with people.
It's like a gift. It's stupid. No, we have the best people on. We do, man, Christian. And I'm going to keep ringing your ear, dude, because I love the fact that I'll say things, and you'll be like, you know what? I think you could say this better than that. And I'm like, you're right, 100%. So thank you for that. I've told you this, you have carte blanche free input with me. So thank you for doing that. For the Chad Prather Show, we love you guys. TexasYouthSummit.com. We love you. God bless. Talk to you next time. Bye.
Man, thank you so much for having me on. That was fun.
Thanks.
That was so